Barry Island, how the hell have you run your 350 managed property letting agency from Portugal? Talk to me.
Well, it's the old adage where they say gross profit for show, net profit for dough, and that's very much the way it is. So if you're offering a good service, and I know that you talk a lot about this, you can charge well for your service, which is what we do. So we don't just give things away. I think that there's enough clients out there who will pay for good stuff. It's the same. I like to drink Peroni if I go to the pub, but I know there's damn sight cheaper beers there, but I won't enjoy my experience, and I trust what I'm going to get. So we follow that on to how we offer that out to our customers, basically.
But for the last 15 years, you've not worked in the business. How can you be sure that your staff are running a good ship? Because you offer damn good service and your fees aren't cheap either. How?
Well, we've already spoke about the system that I've developed, do you know what I mean, for now other agents, but for all the time that I've worked within the agency, I've always had the right systems in place. So from when the days where we didn't have the technology that we had now, there was always systems in place. And I'm always a firm believer of a perfect customer journey. It doesn't matter when a customer contacts us, they need to have the right journey. And if you've got the right systems in place, that will always happen.
Don't you fear that you living in Portugal, that you're going to be taken advantage of by others?
No, because what you mean, staff? No, because I think if you get the right staff, if you treat staff well, and staff are looked after, then there's no taking advantage. And I think that I'm more on the ball now than when I was working in the office, because what was important when I was working in the office was chasing the key that had been lost. Or I've got a landlord on the phone because he's moaning about the expense of how much the radiator costs to fix. I don't worry about any of those things now. I'm not interested. I'm worried about how my business can be better, because business is always moving. So because I'm always making it better, we're always on the top of our game when we get to that
So
stage.
what advice would you give to letting agents who want to step back from their agency a little bit? You took it to the nth degree, and you probably only come back to the country twice a year.
Yeah, well, the biggest turning point for me was reading a book, and actually I don't read many books at all. On your hand you can read how many books I've read. I find it hard to read books. I'm dyslexic, that's one thing I find hard with, but business I found quite easy. But the big turning point for me was an actual book. It's an old book now called The E-Myth. I don't know if you've heard of The E-Myth.
That's the classic on the business, in the business.
Exactly, and that was a massive turning point for me. Someone put me onto that book, I read that book, and then when I speak to any of my friends in any business, I always put them onto it, and for the majority of them it has changed their business, because it stops you working in that business and looking from afar on the business. And you're just too busy running a business. If you're too busy running a business, you can't be making the best out of that business. And that's, I feel, is what we do, well, what I do best, is to be able to separate myself.
But let's be frank, the letting agents are mostly perfectionists. That they love detail, they love to get every minutiae thing right and correct. They crave to be accurate, and they hate criticism. That's quite tough for an agent to step back. How did you learn to do that?
It must be part of my personality that I can step back. I have the trust in other people to do things. I see other agents, and it's the question I've always been asked within Northwood: how the hell have you been able to do this while I'm still slugging away? And probably they've got bigger portfolios than I have. And I think it is a part of micromanaging. I don't micromanage. I think everybody's got their own skills. Everybody's good at what they're good at. Like I said, I'm not good at certain things, but I know I'm good at right things. And if I'd been put in the wrong job at the wrong time, I would have been awful at that job. And we still have the same within our office. So we bring in a member of staff. We might say, right, you're going to do this because that's the job, but actually they're not very good at that. But it doesn't mean that they're not very good. So we can move them sideways and put them into another job, and then they become excellent at what they're doing, because they must have been good in interview, or we wouldn't have given them a job in the first place.
Now, you did actually have a branch manager who kind of ran the show. But then she left a couple of years ago. How difficult was it to replace her with You know, were you not worried that you almost had to come back and take the reins?
Yeah, it was a big decision I had to make. So, I had someone, she worked for me for 15 years and was brilliant at running my office, and she ran my office, exceptionally well. And it was at that point I had to make a decision. I had a few decisions. Do I sell it? Do I come back in and run it? Or do I get someone else in that I can trust? But then what I thought was, well, I need a system there. And as we spoke about the other system I'm selling, Active Agent, the fact of that is that's the reason why I brought that system in and I developed that system, purely because now I can honestly know where to rely. I can sit on the beach and look on my mobile phone, on my app, on my phone, because everything within our system is task-based. So as soon as somebody comes on board, the system automatically generates a task, and it's color-coded. So in our office, basically, we have a rule in our office: no one's going to leave the office if there's any red tasks, because it's obviously, if it's red, it's had to be done today. And because we get that done, then people know I'm looking at it, but I only spend 5 minutes.
I mean, fundamentally, lettings primarily is looking after the stuff you've got, which is what a lot of letting agents are very, very good at. But it's also trying to bring new people on as well, and that's what the Active Agent system does, which I know we spoke about in another video. That damn well that angle's covered. So actually, it's quite simple. Both angles are covered, and as long as the right people are in with the right trustworthiness, you're on a winner, aren't you?
Yeah, and also I think if you don't give we've got loads of our landlords have been with us for ages. One of the proudest thing that I can honestly say I've got is I still have property number one who came on board with me when I first started. So my first property, and he's still with us. And I think that because you don't just give landlords what they want, but if you're giving them that service and they're doing well, why do they want to sell their property? Why don't landlords only want, because I deal in property as well, landlords only want to sell their property if it's causing them a headache. If it's not causing them a headache, well, why on earth would I want to sell it in the first place? Because they're always going up in value. The capital value is always going up. So if you're giving that landlord that, don't give them the option. The landlord, if they're given the option because something's gone wrong, then they'll want to leave it because they're quite fickle, But if you don't give them that option, then why on earth would they want to leave anyway?
Indeed. Thank you for your time today.